Mm.
Welcome, everybody, to the Yankee Chronicles podcast. I'm Bobby Ryan. You can follow Yankee Chronicles on Twitter at Yankee Chronicle. You can also follow us on our website at yankeechronicles.com and also on YouTube at Yankee Chronicles. So just remember to like, share, subscribe, and help this channel grow. I'm here today with a very special guest, a very good friend of mine. This is the Angry Albanian, and we will be have a little fun with the prospect and the possibilities of having a very aggressive bidding war in the off season. Eddie, thanks again for joining me.
My pleasure, Bobby. You're one of the best, if not the best.
I try.
Yankee fan.
We've been lucky enough to have a very good friendship that's built on social media, and I'm glad. I'm very excited to have this chat with you. And
for sure, you're one of the first ones that welcomed me with open arms, and you put my name out there, and I greatly appreciate it, for sure.
Any chance I can. So, the new ownership that's come into Queens, do you think that at this point they can overpay, or maybe not overpay is the right word? You think they're going to be more aggressive than the Yankees when it comes to the free agents this year?
I definitely think they're going to be more aggressive, 100%. As a matter of fact, I know it's been a little slow start to the off season, but everything I hear, everything that's kind of being reported, I think that that he's going to put a very, very competitive team on the field. And if he's got to overpay for the first or the second guy, I think he wants to make it where people just want to come here. And he talks a big game, and a lot of people talk a big game, but I think that Mr. Cohen, or as I call him, Uncle Stevie, I think that he definitely is going to push through and do what he has to do to really make this minimum a two-team town, where we're not looked at as the little stepbrother, so to speak.
Well, look, you got to win to be able to get out of that shadow.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, winning the off season is fine. It gets the fans a little excited, but unless you're actually playing and succeeding in the regular season and pushing your way into the playoffs and deep into the playoffs, it really doesn't matter. And even at that, as a fan base, you're not really going to overtake the Yankees as far as popularity whilst you're doing it over a certain amount of years. Now, if the Mets go out and win a World Series this year, and say the Yankees, whatever, don't even make the playoffs, which I doubt very highly that they won't, that's where the process starts to where, that we would be the team, that's talked about in New York. But, it's not going to happen overnight.
It would be rude not to bring up the fact that both teams in New York have two of the top pitchers in New York, with Gerrit Cole and Jacob deGrom. Now, a lot of backlash comes to unnecessary criticism comes to deGrom because of the win totals.
Right. Which is not his fault.
Which is not his fault. I was going to mention that. It's right. When you have no offense, it's hard to build those stats.
Right.
With these two pitchers being in New York at the same time, is that the best thing that could happen for New York baseball?
Well, not really sure how to answer that question, but what I can tell you is having Jacob deGrom on the Mets or in New York is the best thing that happened for the Mets, because that's their only shining light, so to speak. That's the only one that gives you hope. You look at the Yankees or Gerrit Cole. He's sort of the hired gun, and I don't even know if I could put him where. I mean, the last 2 years, I guess he's on level ground with deGrom. But I think over the last 5 years, I think that anybody would say for the stretch of 5 years that deGrom is better. He's been more consistent, but I would take Garrett Cole on my team any day.
Yeah, so, we would take deGrom.
Right.
When there were the rumors before he got the extension that the Wilpons were whispering to the Yankees to see if there was a deal that was going to be worked out, and then deGrom had he got his hair cut.
Right.
And there was a fury on social media going, if he cut his hair, that means he's ready to move.
Right.
You got that feeling that because of did the haircut mean that much, make that much of a difference? If did that put a panic into you that maybe he might have been on the
no, not at all. You know what? As a matter of fact, I didn't even think of that. I just because you mentioned it now, it just flashed back in my head. I just think that he, I don't know. I guess he changed. He was more in the spotlight. He won the Cy Young with the longer, and then next year he came back. He cut the hair. No, that didn't go through my head at all. What did go through my head was it last year or the year before with Syndergaard going to the Yankees.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing. Like everybody's reporting, Cashman's pushing for a deal. It was like a three-way deal with the Marlins and whatnot. That I thought actually was going to happen for some reason. I thought that was actually a very good possibility that it was going to happen.
We brought up, we just talked with the pitching with deGrom and Cole. What's your outlook on how the superstar rivalry within the boroughs, maybe not so much in baseball overall, with the power bat of Judge and Alonso, with the home run with the rookie year home run chant title switching that quickly,
right?
How does that feel as a Met fan to have that power bat?
Oh, to have a power bat and a guy that can be a game changer, it feels great. Alonso to break the record, feels great because we want something. We haven't had anything, when it comes to Met Yankee rivalries. And as far as like the face of New York or the face of baseball in New York, even though Alonso had that record breaker, I mean, the Yankee name is above the rest. I mean, that's what it is. So, Judge is the guy. The only thing with that is, and I think Yankee fans would agree also, he's really had a hard time staying on the field. Now, the thing that's going to really propel him and stay on top is going to be his health. If he stays healthy, the guy's a good ball player.
I think a lot of the fans, like myself, have been fairly critical as far as Judge with his health.
Right.
We want him healthy, but at the same time, he's still our guy.
Oh yeah, of course. You drafted him. He came through. He's your guy. Exactly right.
Yeah. One thing I do want to poke at: if there is one free agent that would fit your team, that you could steal from the Yankees, that really would fit what holes you have, who would that be?
You know what? That's a tough one. If you were to say which player would you want without having to put the holes thing in it, like the Mets have a hole at second base, although McNeil can play there, then he shoots over to third. I would want Torres. In the outfield, I would automatically say Judge, but what we really need is a center fielder. So who would I want to fill a hole? I guess it would be Garrett Cole, probably. I mean, that's the guy who I would want. Although I would take Torres or Judge any day of the week.
All right.
You know,
Well,
those would be my two guys.
Yeah, I would also aim with the rotation, and
Right.
my steal from you guys would be obviously is without even thinking about it would be deGrom.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and my 1A would be McNeil.
Yeah.
Because he's just a dynamic player, and he's exciting to watch.
He's more of
I
an
would use the
amazing
term
type.
McNeil comes off like an old soul type player.
Yes. 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 Hits to
Same
the
thing
opposite
with
field. You know.
Leahy
Right.
is an old soul type player. Where
I think they're one of the same. They both have that mentality. You know, if there's a runner on third, they don't want to go for the home run. They just want to get the run in. You know, that's the important thing. They, hit to the opposite field. They can move a runner over. They play smart on the field. Know where to throw the ball. Know the game situation. It's not just fielding a ball and throwing the ball. You're right. Old school type mentality, knowing the game in and out.
Yeah. Who do you think? Because both teams have that rotation hole, where
Right.
the starters are. It's not a strong five for either team right now.
No, it's not.
Who would most likely get Bauer?
You know what? I don't. Obviously, I don't know any GMs or owners or so we can just go by what we hear from reports, and the Mets definitely have a need for rotation. I think just like the Yankees do. The Yankees, the Mets can maybe get away with one guy, one solid guy. I think the Yankees would need two. But as far as like who would get them, I really think that Steve Cohen. As a fan, I want to sign everybody, but I think that if he wants to make a statement, he really needs to get Bauer. But having said that, over his career, I'm not going to say Bauer's a 500 pitcher, although I don't know his record. But being a 500 pitcher doesn't mean you're a 500 pitcher. You could be a 500 pitcher like deGrom.
Exactly.
But Bauer is not in the class of deGrom, even though he won the Cy Young. He won the Cy Young with a 4-5 record.
It was a low record. I don't know the specifics, but yeah.
And I don't think he's close to deGrom. And to tell you the truth, he's not even close. He's not even close to Garrett Cole. There's a lot of pitchers out there. The Dodgers have a couple. That are better than him. But for this time right now, just because he is the guy out there does not mean that he is the guy. Now, Cohen, I think, is going to make a play for him. And I have this feeling that Springer, more so than Bauer, are going to wind up on the Mets, but I wouldn't put it past them to get both. I really wouldn't.
I think they're going to get both.
You think so?
When you take the Yankee hat off and you put your baseball hat on, I try to look at the outlook of what's going on and not have tunnel vision.
Right.
So I really think that that Cohen is going to be aggressive with Springer, because you really don't have, I don't see a legitimate center fielder on the roster.
No, there isn't. There really isn't.
And Nimmo would be a good utility guy off the bench, if they want to go old school with pinch running and, and that aspect, the small ball aspect. And Bauer, I think, would really complement with Syndergaard and deGrom.
Yeah, Syndergaard, deGrom. Even Stroman. It would be a formidable front 3 or 4. As a staff. You could put them up against. I don't know about anybody, but if they're not a 1 or a 2, they're right there. but they definitely need someone, and I think Cohen's going to do it. I just, I listen to a lot of radio. That's all I watch is sports.
Yeah.
And from what you hear, I mean, obviously we don't know what's what. I mean, as far as we're concerned, Cashman is probably making a deal right now for Lindor and Carrasco, and he's finally letting go of his, so-called prospects. I mean, so we don't really know what's going on. But when the general manager of the Mets, Sandy Alderson, talks like this guy's gonna, this guy would play here. We like what he does with the analytics, his, arm angles, this, that, what he's doing to better himself as a pitcher. And then you got the owner of the Mets following him, and he's following the owner, and Bauer's got his whatever that is, his YouTube whatever it is there that he does, and in one episode, all he talked about was Cohen. So I really think he's coming. Is that going to be the right move? Who knows? Who knows?
A lot of the times, with the Subway Series, during the season with the interleague play, it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster.
Oh yeah.
With these new younger players on both sides, in both boroughs, it's kind of gotten that spark back. Is there is there anything that they could do to really emphasize the importance
of the thing that'll emphasize it?
When New York baseball is at its top, baseball wins.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
I've been on the short end of the stick most of the time, but yes, when they're both competitive, it's great. It gets the city alive. It's always something to talk about. There's the rivalry there, 100%.
Yeah, it adds the excitement. It adds to the frustration.
Yes.
It makes the banter back and forth between the fan bases more meaningful and fun. Because at the end it's just a game, and we take it so seriously. Sometimes we gotta laugh at ourselves, of how much stock we put into this. Now,
some people more than others, but yes, I got you.
So I'm going to segue into this point, and I want to know what you thought of with the Piazza-Clemens rivalry.
Oh boy, I don't even know where to start. Should I start with Torrey? Should I start with Clemens?
Let's go.
Susan Waldman. I remember stuff that was said.
Yeah, I mean, but the broken bat situation,
Right.
Was Piazza too passive? Should he have been a little more, should he have charged at him?
Absolutely, 100%. 100%. He should have. And I don't buy that BS excuse about, well, if I charge him, then I get suspended. Not too many people get suspended in a World Series game. You know what? It would have been done the next year. You know what? He should have charged them, because obviously Met fans think he did it intentionally as far as hitting him and as far as throwing the bat. You talk to some Yankee fans, they say, no, it was the heat of the moment. Just like Susan Waldman. He was so into the game, he thought the bat was the ball. Well, and he was throwing the bat to first base. Well, if you look at the video, he wasn't throwing the bat to first base. Yeah. He was throwing it between first and home. So he was not, and he did not in no way think that was the ball. And he actually threw it towards Piazza. I think that if he really wanted to throw it at him, I think he would have hit him. So to say that, it was tunnel vision. He was, he had his game face on, whatever.
Yeah, in the moment situation.
Right. That wasn't the case. It wasn't the case, and Piazza owned them. And as a competitor, I can appreciate Clemens saying enough is enough and taking it to the next level, which I am kind of old school, you know.
Yeah.
I don't like the pimping. I don't like the stuff like that because I go with with the Bob Gibsons and guys like that. That, you know what, don't lean over the plate. That's my home. That's where I pitch. That's where I make my living. Don't take that away from me.
You got like that old Don Drysdale mentality.
Right. Well, that's the way I am. I'm up there a little bit in age, and that you can't tell, with the makeup, probably not. You think that I'm whatever, a kid, but yes, that's my mentality, and what Clemens did was wrong, and it was, and the salt kept being thrown in the wound. If you remember the following year when they were announcing the All-Star game,
yep,
they had the managers introduce their lineup, and Pudge Rodriguez, I think, was batting third, and now Joe Torre said the best hitting catcher in baseball, batting third, Pudge Rodriguez. Sorry, Mike Piazza. Hey, what is that?
Yeah, that was a little.
Yeah, as it wasn't that over the top. I mean,
yeah, on a grand like if it was in a regular Subway, regular season game,
right.
Teams, I could let that go, but on a major stage like that, I thought that was a misstep.
And I don't appreciate that. That's where my stuff with Yankees bets. I do take it over the top. Believe me. I mean, this is calm. This is this is not the way I'm at a game.
Yeah.
I want to try and but that was uncalled for. Even Susan Waldman, when she doing the game and she said something to the effect that Clemens was so bothered that that he hit Piazza. But if you remember that game when Piazza got hit in the head, he sliced and diced every Met game. He had pinpoint control, and she said that he lost control. He threw a fastball.
Yeah.
That's BS. That's bullshit.
I think with Clemens and Piazza, they were just legitimate. They just did not like each other.
Right.
And over time, I'm when you look back, as much as it was entertaining for us, there are points of that rivalry that that are still unsettling to see. The headhunting and it was it's unnecessary, but some of it was old-fashioned baseball.
I don't mind the old-fashioned baseball. Like I said, listen, if you're gonna hit someone, the thigh, the back end, the rib, the shoulder, but when you get up there, that's taking a little bit over the line. And me personally, I thought the Mets would retaliate, and Bobby Valentine lost the team and lost his job because he did not retaliate. If I was in the other dugout, I don't want to take this to a thing, but I play softball. I try to, I tried for the Kennedy High School team in the Bronx. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I mean, I never made it, obviously, but or even made the team. But Bobby Valentine, as much of a baseball man as he was, the team itself, the Piazzas, the Al Leiters, the John Francos, the guys that were on that team, he didn't do anything about it. He let his guy get knocked almost unconscious by Clemens, and he did not retaliate. Now, would it be somebody's got to pay? And you know what? You take my star out, he had to at least make a statement by drilling Jeter. Because Jeter's the guy, Piazza was the guy. And you have to. You don't wait 2 years at Shea Stadium and have Sean Estes, whose fastball tops out at 75, try and hit Clemens. That's not the way it goes.
Yeah.
It's not. That was a joke. It was a joke. I mean, Estes hit the home run over him, whatever it was, blah, 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 that game. That's not what it's about. It's not.
No, not, we went a little back in time. I want to go back to the present day. And I want to close this out as with you being a National League guy.
Right.
There's a lot of changes that went on with the rule book.
Right.
With the DH going into with the possibility of the DH going to the National League, is that something you're for?
Yeah, I'm for it. Yeah, I am. I definitely, I'm for it.
And I've been for it, and I want to give you my reason for that. To be fair, of where I'm coming from with, it's as much as I try to keep that purist mentality and,
right,
let the game stay the way it was.
Right.
A lot of money is being invested into these arms. I wouldn't want somebody like Cole that I'm going to be investing, my team is investing all this money to. He's not paid to swing a bat. He's paid to throw the ball.
Right, exactly. I mean, you guys, for one, I mean, I know it's been a few years, and I'm sure you remember him, Cheng-Ming Wang.
Yep.
Didn't he blow out a hamstring or both in Houston or what? You know what? And after that, his career was over. Now, whether he tried to come back and compensate for his legs, use different arm angle or whatever motions, that could have ruined his career. I mean, we don't know. But yes, you're absolutely right. Hitters are paid to hit. Pitchers are paid to pitch. Why put them in harm's way? It's just,
the extra inning rule. What do you think of that?
I hate that. You know what? If you're going to go into the 10th inning and start a guy off on second base, you know what? Maybe you don't want to play the 19-inning games. Not that there's that many that go 19 innings or 16 innings. But you know what? You want to do it in the, I don't know, let it go through the order at least once and try and win it the way the game is played through 9 innings. You want to do it in the 13th inning, in the 12th inning maybe, or the 14th inning. You know what? Maybe I can accept that. But just to start off the 10th inning, a man on second, it just I'm not for that.
Yeah. Now,
what about you? What do you think?
I think it's an embarrassment that they.
It is. It is.
It goes against all aspects of how to play the game. You got to face. You got to be able to keep the game as pure as possible. If the younger fans are tuning out because it went, because of one extra inning, they got to learn they got to be able to get into that mindset where, well, this is the game I'm watching, and that, there's no time clock. You got to let the game play itself out. If it goes 5 hours, 6 hours, fine. If it goes 2 hours, that's even, okay. You can't. Baseball is a game of strategy. You can't rush.
No, you can't.
You can't rush strategy. Because that's where mistakes are made. So, and you put it on second base, the guy that made the last out previously in the previous inning. That's just stupid.
It's stupid, yeah. And like I said, the only way I would even think about like having a rule like that would be, let's say, like I said, you're in the 12th, you're in the 13th inning, nobody said, you know what, I don't want to change it, believe it. I just want to go, whatever. You get up, you get your 3 outs, and you go on to the next inning. That's why you have, 12, 13 pitches some ball clubs have. You know what? You get caught shorthanded, you lose the game, that's it. You learn from it. But, starting on second base, it's you bumped over, you get a sac fly. I guess the rules are the same for both teams, but you're cheating the game. You're cheating like
you nailed it right there. The cheating the game.
You are, and I don't want that. As far as the DH, yes, I'll go with it. If they say that the young kids now are not watching the game. Well, you know what? It's Sunday night baseball. Why are you starting at 8 o'clock? Why don't you start it at 7 o'clock? Why don't you start, the regular games, at 6 o'clock, where the game can finish at 9 o'clock instead of finishing at 10 and 11? how are the kids are going to, stay up? They got to go to school, or they're too young, or they're, at their most impressionable years, we got games starting later and not, and they can't watch the game. It's not getting bored. It's not that it's too long. It's just, it's timing.
It's the start time of the games. Because I'm glad you even said that without me asking, because in a previous episode, we
Right.
talked about how to alter the game to bring back a more fruitful audience. And one of the things that I had suggested was how on the weekends, have it almost like, with football, college football and pro football, where you have the time slot. So at 1:00 you have games starting, and then at 4:00, and then at 6:00.
Right.
So you'll have more of an audience, and I think the West Coast games need to start earlier.
I think that, yeah, because anybody with a job or a kid that goes to school, or who's really going to stay up at 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning and watch Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani or Bellinger or Mookie? Nobody really. If you look at it that way.
Very small margin.
Yes, there is. And the people that are hurting the game are the people that are making these
Are running the
so-called changes, but they're not looking at actually what's hurting the game. It ain't the time of the game. It's maybe the start of the game.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everything is money driven. Whatever they do is money driven. That's the bottom line. So I guess they're making money in what they're doing, or the direction they're heading, but it's not really for the fans. They're not drawing fans in, and there's a lot of things that need to be changed with the game. And it's not the starting second runner on second base and extra. That's not it.
Yeah. It sums up where it just leave the game alone. Stop trying to change the rules, but change the platform.
Right.
I know these TV contracts, they bring in a lot of revenue. That's obvious.
Right.
But they still, the networks need to, all right, well, if we work with the teams and let you guys start games earlier, then we'll have more viewership and our revenue goes up with it.
Right.
So I think it's just an easy fix that these high-powered executives with the networks in baseball are not seeing. Meanwhile, for the fans, it's so obvious of what can be done.
But why do you think they're not seeing it? Obviously it's all money driven, but how can somebody not see it? How can somebody that's the commissioner of baseball or these owners, or how can they not see it?
I think part of it is the team owners themselves. They want the ticket revenue and the TV. They want their cake and eat it too. You might have 5,000 less fans in the seats, but you might gain 8,000 more people watching at home while they're having supper. So I think because a lot of these start times are 7 o'clock, no matter what time zone. So 7 o'clock time start in the West Coast is
4 o'clock
at night. So at 10 o'clock at night, who's watching? Who on the East Coast is watching Trout?
Nobody.
Labeled as the best player in the game. Nobody's watching. Who's watching the Dodgers? Who's watching those? Who's watching Machado and these players that were so hyped up, and now they're in Never Land out west.
Yeah, nobody's watching them, and they're getting hurt because in order to grow the game, you need the stars. We can talk about Trout, but do you really watch him unless you're watching highlights? You need to bring Trout into a time where everybody can watch. You got Judge, you got deGrom, you got Gary, you got Trout, you got Mookie Betts, you got Tatis, who the guy's great. I wish he was on my team. you only like read about him and see clips, but you need to showcase him.
Yeah.
And that's where the impressionable kids nowadays, that's who they want. They want Tatis. They want, Mookie Betts. Those are the guys they want. They want Mike Trout. And baseball is not allowing it by whatever, obviously the time, but it's all money driven. And they're not advertising the game the way it should be. They're just not, and it's plain and simple.
Now, I have one last question.
Okay.
We saw in the old days, Steinbrenner was very involved.
Yes.
And was always on the back page, even the front page. Going from the Wilpons to the Cohens, do you feel that Cohen can be that next Steinbrenner where he's very interactive with the fan base and with the media? You see already, he's very popular on Twitter. He was in the stadium when they were handing out the bobbleheads. As a Met fan,
Right.
going from the Wilpons to the Cohens, what has this transition meant to you?
Boy, other than just thinking that, or hoping it's fact that this guy's going to make a difference. This guy, if we need something, he's going to make us competitive every time. But as far as just him being out there, it's a breath of fresh air. I mean, the Wilpons, you've never seen them. They've never interacted with fans. And even like Cohen is different from Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner was the type he went to say, on TV, and he might have bashed a player, a Reggie or Hideki, a Rabu, but he went out there and he backed it up and he got the players. You don't want to play for me, you're out. He didn't care. So they're kind of the same. Well, with Cohen, it's still early, but it seems like they're heading there where he wants to win. Steinbrenner wanted to win, and he made changes to win, whether it's a manager or just saying, I want Reggie Jackson, and we're going to get it. You understand? I think Cohen's going to be a little different as far as that goes, but I think his competitiveness is going to be the same. And that's what I want.
All right. Well, listen, Andy, I appreciate you coming and chatting with me today. And on behalf of Yankee Chronicles, I extend another thank you.
Bobby, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
It's going to be a fun season. I'm looking forward to interacting with you, and we'll get together at one point.
For sure, definitely.
Left up, we'll have to get to a game together and have a good time.
100%. We'll definitely do that.
Good.
Could I end this by saying let's go Mets, or you got to finish that off with let's go Yankees? Bobby, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Should have done it earlier.
Yeah. No, we will be doing this again. So, on behalf of everybody at YankeeChronicles.com, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And please remember on YouTube to like, share, and subscribe. And you can follow us at Yankee Chronicles. And you can follow us on the web at YankeeChronicles.com. Everybody, have a good night and stay safe.
Good to hear.